to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Hello and welcome, beloveds, to another episode of Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life truly in yourself, in your own narrative, on your own terms. You know, it's ironic because before many of us were not able to live on our own terms because the odds in terms of just where the world was at, the dark ages and all of that, were stacked against us higher vibrating beings where we couldn't access higher levels of thought, which is what creates higher levels of experience and what many call heaven on earth. But those are stories for other days. You know, a couple of days ago, I did a show on Lucifer's prophets and how they have been whispering into the ears of humanity and have managed to manipulate the group thought to what it is right now. But I was like, you know, maybe I should even just take a step back and talk about Lucifer's kingdom. And the reason I use Lucifer and the devil is because we all have the same connotation of what that means. Basically, the enemy of our soul, the destroyer, the ones who want us to go into a slave nation, a global slave state, so that they can feed of us, the one who have been feeding on us in the unseen realm. And because now all the truth is bubbling up to the top, they now have to reveal themselves in the seen realm. And so they're trying to, you know, manipulate our self-will, our thoughts, our capacity, our mind, which is why for so long, for decades, there's been such a endeavor to dumb down humanity and to really bring humanity's vibration as low as possible so that many of the so-called saviors who are here to even save themselves first could not access the higher streams of thought which yield to higher streams of creation, which bring down a higher reality and kind of cancel out all this negativity that we are seeing. So what is Lucifer's kingdom, beloveds? Let me tell you, Lucifer's kingdom is mental. It's like the metaverse, beloveds. It's an artificial power. It doesn't exist physically because nature is God and nature is everywhere. And nature is balance. You see, the Lucifers of this world, the Lucifer, the devil, is someone who is out of balance. And it's all about survival, beloveds. Like if we were to go really deep, this whole thing is about trying to survive when you've run out of time. Stealing energy, this vampiristic life. It's because your life stream has come to an end. And so you're trying to survive on other people's energy. That's what this whole construct is. That's the base thought, survival. And you know, with survival comes the fear of death. So it's that warped, it's a very warped and unclean and unclear energy that is ruling and reigning. But Lucifer's kingdom is mental first, beloveds. It's all about controlling the unseen world so that the manifested world is always to their liking. And for so long, because we were in the dark ages, like in a lower vibrational reality, they could do that at will. Because they collapsed the societies of before, the nations of before, the technologies of before. I mean, there's even been proof of like choppers and, you know, flying saucers and many other, and computers in the pyramids, beloveds. So they collapsed that life and then created this whole experience, hijacking and whitewashing the real story. And this is how everything is. It's a false narrative. Lucifer's kingdom is a figment of our imagination, but it's so well orchestrated because you see, everything originates from the mental level, from the spiritual level, and that's the level that's been hijacked. And his story is so intricate that he has also thought of how how to keep us thinking it's all physical, so that we're never really engaged in the real war. And so for so long, it was so easy to manipulate through his prophets. Because you see, Lucifer's kingdom, if it's mental, that means it operates, on ideas and emotions. Emotions are energy in motion. And one of the most powerful verses of the scriptures, that if you're even not going to believe anything in the scriptures, Revelations 12:12, is it 12:12 or 6:12 or something like that? We wage war not against flesh and blood, but against spiritual wickedness in high places. You see, Lucifer has hijacked global concepts, and then he's taken over the global energy and left people weak because they're always trying to survive. They're always on, fight or flight. They're always off balance in their lives, whether it's because they have to work and their work isn't giving them what they want. It's just they're always off balance because they're so in this physical. And they can feel the manipulation of the spiritual. And it's just like, why is my life not mine, And he knew it was because we were passing through a certain season that he was able to have this full reign and put his kingdom in place. But his army are these spirits: spirit of jealousy, spirit of envy, spirit of lust, spirit of greed. These are his darts. These are his commanders. They run, the head of jealousy will run the jealousy army. And so that spirit is always looking for a place to land and feed. And the way that that spirit lands and feeds is by entering weak beings and then having them operating in that spirit. So it gets energy as that person thinks, becomes jealous of someone and thinks all these jealous thoughts of someone. That jealousy spirit is generating, harvesting all that energy, all those negative things. And that's why, when I shared the story on spiritual marriages, beloveds, we saw that so many people had a common experience, especially if you went through the comments. There were so many times I was like, oh my gosh, this almost sounds like my story. It's like so many people, because yes, those were mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, cousins, friends, spouses doing that. But what they did is they yielded to the spirits of jealousy, of envy, of control, of manipulation, because they wanted what they don't have access to. Survival, power, whatever. Whatever their reason. But those spirits were able to sit in them and generate food from them. And so, and a lot of people, that spirit of envy sits there. And maybe first you're envious of your sister or whatever. Then as you grow older, you get envious of some friends. And then it grows and it festers and it almost becomes a stomach monster. That was it becomes this being inside of you that is free thinking, that can almost disconnect you because it's such a powerful programming in your mind. It can disconnect you sometimes and make you act out of character. And so that's why the most important work is your cleansing, your self-purification, beloveds. Because you don't want to be part of Lucifer's army. So what happens is that a lot of people became slave to their emotions and to the tricks and the narratives, these false narratives of having and not having, and this person has more than me, this person is more happy than me, this, that. All these negative things which kind of created a chaotic spirit. And from that, is where now Lucifer is able to like take over the body. And these people literally become zombies. And so they're a slave to fear. They're a slave to murder. They're a slave to revenge. They're a slave to putting their sister down and making her feel like crap. And you see, the thing about this is these entities take so much energy to feed, which is why they come for chosen ones and try and attach themselves through spiritual marriage, etc., to us. Because they don't have the energy to feed that thing on its own. It becomes like their own inner monster. So imagine if you're dealing with jealousy, greed, envy, hatred, and they've all just been festering you for decades. The kind of spirit that you have to get, the kind of energy they need. They want to hear that. They want to see that. They want to speak that jealousy, that hatred, that bile. That's what feeds them, beloveds. And so many were zombies way before the double Big Mac came out. But you see, what happened is something changed in the atmosphere and we were leaving that belt, which means that the umbrella, because now all of this, these are the spirits of, this is Lucifer's army, all these negative, distorted thoughts and spirits living in people and acting and kind of getting their own power. This is the army. But then this army needs bodies. And so emotion was the slave master of the previous age. And now they need the double Big Mac because everyone is awakening. So it's just like the veil is lifting. It's like coming out of sleep. Let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. This is kind of a hard one to explain, but I really do hope that you're getting the analogy that I'm giving about Lucifer's army, beloveds. And the reason I share this is because we need to recognize that we're not trying to spot, when we're looking for the enemies of our souls or those we should avoid, it's not people, but it's spirits in people. So there are those who were allies before that have become enemies now because of the kind of spirit that lives in them. And there's a high-level wizard, if I can call him that, who always used to tell me, a person, a human can change at any time. And that's what we need to be aware of. In the seasons and times we're moving in, we need to stop looking at like, this person is my enemy and that person is my enemy. No. They're probably zombies that are being used by those principalities and spirits. Because the reason you need to recognize that, beloveds, is because if you grew up in a toxic family and you were under the manipulation and narcissistic control of your father or your mother, and you overcame it, but you didn't overcome it fully, then that spirit still has a window because it can attach to you through some of your emotion, unresolved residue emotions. It still has a window to appear to you either through a friend or a colleague or, a spouse. And that's why we have to start identifying the spirit that is trying to bring us down in people. Instead of thinking it's this person or it's that person. Because many, especially with this whole double Big Mac situation, it's like a massive divide all of a sudden, where friends that they had for 20, 30 years have changed on them overnight. Oh, you can't come over, you can't see, you can't see your niece and nephew, you can't do this, we can't hang out. All because of different opinions and views, beloveds. And so, you see, when you think it's a person, you miss the point and you may get emotional and be concentrating in this person, and then the spirit jumps to another person and they get you anyway. So many beloveds are zombies that are used by this. Their spirit is so weak that they're overridden by lust, by gluttony, by vengeance, by whatever, all those low vibe emotions. They're overridden by that. And it's like some form of like mental masturbation, beloveds. That's what these beings are looking for, and they take so much energy. Like they want you to be in that vibe, in that thought, exercising that emotion as much as possible. So they'll always try and keep it, which is why many were slaves. But now we've moved into the golden age where the light has come out to shine, and those things can't hold you anymore. But you must be able to identify that it's not necessarily people, but it's spirits. And once you recognize it's spirit, then that spirit will never get you again, because you'll recognize it in the next person and the next person, and you'll know how to handle it or how to disconnect it from your life before it, latches on. Because Lucifer now has plenty of bodies to operate in. Before it was just spirit, so Lucifer would first try and penetrate your mind with thoughts of hate, of lust, of disagreement, things that are just lower vibing, imbalanced thoughts, let me put it like that. And then if your mind was too strong, because many of us chosen ones, even if we lag a little bit, will always come back to balance. Even though it may not feel like it, we'll always have that positive side coming in and giving us that mental contribution. So we moved. So once it couldn't penetrate us mentally, then now it enters the weaker beings among us and starts to use them, starts to whisper in their ear. And you see, they've already been primed by Lucifer's prophets. So when these individual army members of fear, of pain, of competition, unhealthy competition, when these start to whisper, they're already primed, they're already ready for this. So that's why it's so important, beloveds, to stay uplifted in this time, and those things will never touch you. Or at least when they're coming, you'll see them so quickly. You'll see them so, like, you'll just immediately be able to protect yourself and protect your energy. But now, this is the season of Lucifer's army roaming wild and free. And that's why it is really important, beloveds, to a certain extent, to disconnect yourself so that the main vibe you're in is your own. The main power you're sitting in is your own. And that's how you'll be able to change not only your life, but the life of others and the world. Tuko pamoja.